Thank you, Puckett. And once more, Bren, that was a lot of rabbits on the analyst desk. Everyone's thinking that Misfits is going to take this one.
I mean, I on paper, I got to agree. You know, you can't disagree with it because Misfits, they are the strongest team in the tournament by far, but there's still that upset potential. You know, Sideshow was talking about it, the whole analyst desk was talking about it. The potential is there, and this definitely looks like potentially a preview of the grand finals and the playoffs, because these are some of the two best teams that we're seeing here in the European side of Contenders.
1-2-3 has looked very good, and you know, to sort of throw things back a little bit, 1-2-3, we didn't expect them to be quite as good as they are coming into Contenders Season 1. In fact, we thought with the departure of Mistakes that they would be towards the lower end, but the story of 1-2-3 has been the same, where we've seen very good play from their Tracer. This time it's Snillo instead of Mistakes, and also the tanks that, you know, as the desk kind of alluded to, have definitely stepped up, particularly Tonic, who's been great.
I would agree with that 100%. I think the tanks are probably some of the biggest playmakers on both these teams' sides. You know, Misfits, obviously, we talk about logics a lot, and maybe the tanks just get the sideline to a degree, but they definitely have been showing up. And both these teams, this is going to be a super different game than what we've had in the previous series, where it's just chaos, teams just slamming bodies at each other. This is going to be very tactical, very methodical, and we're seeing the compositions that are rolling out, mirror comps on either side, double hit scan, and it's going to be the dive compositions.
Neither team's going to be looking for crazy dives here. They both have a lot of faith in their Tracer players to open the way, but Finzi finds Logix immediately, just dunked on by that rocket, and suddenly for 1-2-3, they've given themselves a very nice edge here early on, and they're just going to roll into Misfits here. They're taking the fight to them, and they really just clear out that building, and it works out very well for them.
Yeah, there's a big opening straight off the back of that. Losing your Tracer player, it's a huge blow to you as a team, and getting that D-Mech as well. Look at that. The point will be capped up to 1-2-3 as they win the initial fight. Tonic survives just on a sliver of HP there, as you can see. Manson getting D-Mech into the final moments. We'll have to swap off the D.Va roll, back onto D.Va again to get back into his mech, so he's going to lose that ult percentage that he gained.
And that's a case there where it's just a trade-off, right? Yeah. Where you want to do it there, even though you lose the ult percentage because you get back in. But Misfits, not wasting a lot of time trying to contest here on the side of the bridge, but this is dangerous. You don't want to be in this bridge for that long. You're opening the possibility of Denia moving in and just booping you off. But Denia, under pressure from Logix here to the back, it's enough of a distraction to let Misfits in.
And here you have it into the back lines. Tonic unleashes the Primal Rage here. The Transcendence by Misfits tries to keep them alive for the time being. Pulse Bomb gets sent out but does not connect. Logix gets booped away in the midst of it, and already 2 picks now going to the way of 1-2-3 as they're winning out this fight. They use the Soundbite, they use the Tactical Visor in that fight to try and take it, and they will be the winners. Logix just has to reset.
Now think about how this all transpired here, where this stage of Lijiang is very good for a team that's defending because of the tight quarters you have to go through to get back to the point. All of this snowballed because Finzi was able to take down Logix with one well-placed rocket. Yeah. That's why 1-2-3 is got the momentum that they had, where they're now about to be 60% to 0. Misfits, they move in again, and they engage with the Primal Rage very early.
Yeah, into the back line, Finzi gets brought backwards. Now Misfits want to be using their Sound Barrier, want to be staying alive in this coming fight, as you can see. Finzi's still just happy to just take pot shots from the back lines. You know, there's no pressure onto him. With the Self-Destruct into the back lines, won't find a kill, but it forces the positionings for them to try and take a superior team fight here, ZP.
And Finzi, there's no pressure on him whatsoever. He's had plenty of time to sit here in the back, deal good damage. He's been containing Logix by and large. Almost got the pick off there. It was very close. And now is rolling to the back as Misfits has gotten the better of 1-2-3. Or they had a slightly better engage. They have a numerical advantage. But 1-2-3, they don't fully die to begin with, and they try and just delay this out as long as possible. So even though Misfits is looking like they're going to retake this, Bren, 1-2-3 comes away with a lot.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, that was all off a single pickoff at the start of the game onto Logix. Just that one pickoff just allowed them to snowball out of control. Maniton now finally has built up his Self-Destruct, but that's the only ult they've got going for them now. And Misfits, they got to defend this next team fight, otherwise it's just going to be curtains for them.
Misfits right now holding back. This is where Maniton, he's going to let the Self-Destruct fly. Into the air it goes. Wow. And there's explosions on both sides. Snillo and Maniton getting what they want, but Maniton gets a little bit more. It's 3 kills when the dust settles, and that's enough for Misfits to hold on, despite what could have been a great opening by Snillo.
Yeah, can you imagine if that Self-Destruct didn't get the kills for Misfits there? That would have been, again, a round 1 almost instantly for 1-2-3 off the back of that one. And you can see Tavik as well, his ult charge time, pretty standard stuff across the board. One of the better Genjis in the tournament, about 90 seconds. And Snillow's just going to start poking and prodding from the sidelines. Going to be trying to take the 1v1 against Logics. Will eat up that health pack. Again, this is brave by Snillow to try and take the 1v1 against one of the best tracers in EU.
SX would say it's a bit of TBT, but Tonic, it's a little primal rage to the face, takes down Zupe early on, ends up falling though, not able to stay alive. And Misfits, though they're wounded, they're sort of fighting this back. They lost to Vic, they don't have the blade, and 1, 2, 3, they drop a barrier on all of 3 people here to commit, and I don't know if they need to do that. They still have time to work with.
Yeah, kind of questionable because they're not actually finding the picks off the back of this one. They committed the sound barrier. They are still taking this fight out, and now it's looking a little bit more in their favor. Misfits, they use the Transcendence off the back of it. They're going to start to get healed up. Logix is just not being dealt with in the slightest, but we're going to look at Tavik for the time being as he's slicing through the opposition. Doesn't quite get the D-Mech that he's looking for because of the Transcendence heals.
I'm just very confused because even though they bought them a little bit of an edge there, Misfits was coming back in with ultimates. It was sort of a false advantage at best. And now 1, 2, 3, they don't have a barrier when they need it most for their final attempt. So it's all going to come down to this here. Bren is Manitin. Lets a self-destruct fly through the window. Doesn't connect this time. 1, 2, 3. Now they have to get to the point, and with Vic down, they've given themselves a bit of an opportunity.
They do indeed, but Hafikul had to sacrifice his mech to try and buy this time for the rest of the team. They're leading this one in, but Logix is just bringing down the players before they can even get onto the point. The sound barrier by Misfits, concatenated on top. The overtime ticks over, but this round is looking pretty much won. There's only 2 players remaining from 1, 2, 3. Can't quite get onto the point to get booped away from Zebasai. There you have it, round number 1, going to be going to Misfits here in this first map in a fantastic series.
And again, I think I want to just roll back to the beginning there where momentum is so important on the garden stage of Lijiang because you saw how 1, 2, 3 opened it up, just that one pick off, and then even though it's big. That right there, that was the equalizing moment where 1, 2, 3 would have been able to bring that back off of that pulse bomb. It was only Manitin, by throwing the self-destruct over the top, was able to do that, but the key there is that it's very hard to retake control on that particular round, and we saw that where once 1, 2, 3 lost control, they weren't really able to make a decisive edge back in.
Well, here we have difference in compositions once again. 1, 2, 3 going to be sticking with the traditional dive composition, the exact same comp as they ran in the previous round, but Misfits are switching things up. They want to bust out the Reinhardt compositions. Tavik is going to be running the Junkrat of all the roles, and this is a similar composition that we've seen so far with this patch. You know, Junkrat has been buffed recently. He's had a lot of changes, making him a lot more fluid, a lot more flexible, and fit him into a few more compositions.
And let's talk about why you're seeing the Junkrat here. It's very tight quarters here on the control center for Lijiang. Definitely one of the more closed-in control point maps in the entire game, and this means that Tavik is going to be splashing more people. He's going to be doing more damage, and he's a bigger threat here in the back. It's also harder to get in on him when he can just mine you going through a tight doorway. So Tavik right now is laying in pressure from the backline and giving Misfits the ability to be more aggressive, and finally, it's starting to take its toll.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can see 1, 2, 3 trying to play positioning, not in choke pointy areas to try and play around the Junkrat that's basically plowing explosives into them, but it's not working out for them. The positioning's forced, and that just gives Misfits an opening to try and contest the point. You can see they've got a massive positioning right now onto the point, almost captured it up for them, but here comes the counter dive ZP. They want to be moving in, and the sound barrier is used by Misfits to try and win this one out.
That's a really nice early barrier here by Misfits. They built it up early and lets them keep control versus 1, 2, 3 dive, but Swoosh is a little bit far out. He gets picked off. 1, 2, 3 can still do this, even though they're a bit wounded. Bach, if he gets healed up, he's going to be able to transcend here in a moment, and 1, 2, 3 can keep on the pressure. There's the Transcendence.
Manitin has a Graviton Surge built up, and he sends it out. It does connect onto a few targets, but the beat will be dropped. 1, 2, 3 want to be keeping themselves alive. Tactical Visor by Logix as he tries to search for the targets around his team. And finally, the cap will go the way of 1, 2, 3 here. Tonic with the Primal Rage into the back lines, just forcing the positioning back, and the fight is reset. But this just goes to show, ZP, I said it at the start, but this is going to be a matchup that's tactical, methodical. That's exactly what we saw from these teams. It was so smart. Every single play was well thought out between both these sides.
That was disciplined play, period. Even with Misfits lost the fight, they didn't lose the fight in a way that was embarrassing. They lost the fight in a way where they tried to chain their ultimates against 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 just had a bit of a resource edge. So very close stuff here so far as Misfits now looks to poke their way in. Self-destruct comes in, doesn't get anything, but Swoosh again gets caught out, and that's bad news for the Misfits, who now have to reset.
I mean, basically, 1, 2, 3 are just exploiting the weaknesses of Misfits' composition. You notice the positioning from them. Open areas, not letting Tavik get anything done with his Junkrat. And even when he did, they're taking the fights at long range, which is something that Tavik on the Junkrat, he's not going to excel at. Since he's taking these battles well. You see the tie now, Tavik Wants to be going for these parkour plays. Look how sick this is. Will he actually get anything from it? Moving into the back. Oh,
going for half
guts
the
the D-mech. That's good enough, surely.
It is, and those mechs not very durable, dying to an exploding tire as Halfical now going to have to try and remech himself, but the damage has been done, right? Now Misfits, they have a golden opportunity to move on to the point. Tonic is bearing the brunt of the punishment here because he's the only tank left and worthy, but Halfical was able to remech himself there towards the end, so now he can carry some of the load, and 1, 2, 3, look at Bach. He's about to get Transcendence in the nick of time.
So
Will it be
close.
enough? No, he doesn't get it in time. It was so close.
But that's not a bad fight, ZP. It's not particularly bad for them in the slightest because now they can move into the next engagement with 2 defensive support ults, which is just absolutely nutty because they've already got 80% on the board. But will we see a repeat of the first round where Misfits ended up retaking the point away from 1, 2, 3 when they had about 95% and they just couldn't get control of it. Misfits are now in a position where they're holding on defensively with the Reinhardt shield, with the Zarya shield, a lot of mitigation. That's the question marks being raised.
This is 1, 2, 3's opportunity right now. They have a support ult advantage. This is where you dive in heavily and use it and just keep Misfits back. I don't think 1, 2, 3 realizes, though, that they have this edge. They're not being that aggressive right now. They're not engaging, but now they are. The Transcendence is out, and now keep a good eye on Denia here. Denia drops the beat right after the Transcendence, but they're not able to get any kills. The Graviton by Maniton equalizes and saves Misfits. What a favorable ult trade there for the Misfits.
Yeah, that was fantastic ult economy. Rotating the ults by Misfits there. I should say Maniton noticing that that was the prime time to be using that Graviton Surge, especially effective given that Halfical was on the Diva. You know, you could potentially get that eaten up by the defense matrix, but it comes out on top for them, and they traded 2 defensive support ults for it. So 1, 2, 3, they now make a switch up. Halfical is going to the Genji because I think they realize they need some overwhelming damage to really get the job done and try and get this recap going.
That can be scary, though, for a Genji going in against a Junkrat. Sometimes you can get the better of it, but sometimes you just eat a bomb and a mine. And look at this. Bach goes down early on. He ate one of those Junkrat rollers right to the face to Vic. He saved himself! What a great play as he punches Denia right in the mouth. Beautiful stuff from Tavik. And this is looking good for the Misfits.
That was so unbelievably sick, man. The parkour of this guy. Tavik saving the second mine. He realized he was going to get bounced back there for the prime time to just go into it, and he picks up the kill into Denia anyway. And now look at this. He's got a tire. He wants to unleash it. 95%, wants to seal the deal. Put the nail into the coffin, so to speak. Surgeon waiting, rapidly going for the kill. The rotations around, and he connects it onto Bok. And Misfits going to be taking map number 1 here against 1, 2, 3.
Tavik might not be playing soldier there, but definitely saying, stay out of my way or I will run you over. Finds Bach towards the end, and Misfits, the adaptation and ability for them to hold on when they have control coming out here, because you take a look at both rounds. 1, 2, 3 started out strong on both, but once Misfits was able to get control, they used positioning to their advantage and kept 1, 2, 3 out of it.
Definitely, I think Misfits coming out with the better sort of ult usage in that entire series, because throughout the time, even though it was that 1, 2, 3 taking the initial team fights on both rounds there, Misfits managed to take it back, and they managed to basically defend it away from them with just the ults, you know, the Graviton Surges, the Earth Shatters and whatnot. Just definitely much superior usage all around by Misfits, but can they carry it on into the later map, CP? That's the question.
I mean, it was close, so we'll have to see, right?
Yeah.
One thing, though, to your point, which is very important to point out, is that for that last round, the crucial breaking point was the point where 1, 2, 3 had both support ultimates up, and they tried to layer them together to get that early team fight win. But what happened was that you saw Misfits disengage just a little bit, and when the second support ultimate came into play, there was the Graviton. The Graviton contained how much they could dive. Misfits eventually takes the fight because of the control offered by that, and 1, 2, 3 never really had as golden of an opportunity after that.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that being said, we're going to head to a quick break. And without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to be heading to the second map. Do not go anywhere, because this is going to be an absolute cracking matchup.
We are back here with Overwatch Contenders Season 1 EU. I'm ZP here with Bren, and Bren, we have a battle of the Titans going on here. The top of EU fighting off, and now we'll have to see, can 1-2-3 bloody the Misfits? Can they bring the series back?
That's the question, isn't it? On everyone's mind across the board, because Misfits have looked, impenetrable throughout this entire tournament. They've looked unstoppable, unbeatable, but can 1-2-3 bring it to them? They certainly did on that first map. As we saw, it went very close. Even though Misfits did end up taking it in 2 rounds, it was incredibly close. The matches were decided just by essentially ult usages. You saw multiple times that, for example, first round, Snillo getting a double kill with the pulse mode, immediately answered back by the triple kill from Manhattan Self-Destruct. These so close. These team fights are decided by realistically just a nice edge.
Well, the cool thing here in Overwatch too is that when you have fights that are coming down to a razor's edge, that's where you see certain players really shine more so than you would be expected. And one of those players has definitely been Manhattan so far, because you go back to both rounds just a map ago, Manhattan had huge hero plays in both maps to keep Misfits on top. So for Manhattan, I know we like to talk about Tvik, Logix, and the DPS players a little bit more, but this has been a banner day for him so far.
Yeah, he's played incredibly well across the board, and now we see a switch up here from the side of 1-2-3. It's actually going to be Fincy on the attack. They might switch this up because remember, 1-2-3 is still on the attack, so they can change their compositions. But Fincy is looking like he's going to be sticking to the Diva role, Hafikul on the Genji, whereas Misfits, they're going to be going with a 2-2-2, double hit scan, sort of dive composition. Again, Zupe is going to be on the Ana. And I think realistically now, 1-2-3, what are they going to be doing, ZP, as they come into this fight, providing they stick with this composition? What is the game plan for attacking this first checkpoint?
Anytime you're running anything that's this dive heavy, you need to deal with the 76 in the back. Full stop. With as good as Tvik is, you can't let him sit in the back and have free reign. You need to dedicate resources to him immediately. You also have to be aware of Logix coming in from the back, who's going to try and distract you from getting that good dive. So you want to be decisive, you don't want to waste time, don't give Logix more time, and eliminate Tvik as early as possible.
Well, here they have it. Tonic, the call is made, the boot is out, but the damage is definitely done on them. The bio grenade does connect on the side of Misfits. It's going to be healing them all up, but no casualties on either side. Logix will try and hunt down Tonic into the backlines, while Hafikul just maintains control of the high ground, and Logix is definitely doing damage into the backlines. There's no real peel available to him. Already picked up a double kill, a triple kill, in fact. Hafikul just trying to build up his blade, will get it for the next team fight, but Misfits, they win the initial defense.
That's really nice ult generation by Hafikul. That's something for 1-2-3 there, but what's more impressive to me is how Misfits played that, where it wasn't just Tvik backing out in response to the dive. The tanks of Misfits all backed out with him. It was a team effort where he had his entourage with him. He was well protected. And now, as a result, Misfits holds on strongly. But there's an opening here for Hafikul. He has the blade up, and we'll see if he can catch one of those supports off guard before they get some of those ultimates up. So for me, it's all about Hafikul heading into this fight.
And Snillo, he forces the recall on Hafikul. He moves in with the blade. That's what they were looking for, but he only gets the 1 kill there onto Zupe. Tonic tries to clean up, will trade it out as Zebasai falls. And Misfits, they're not on the point. 2 ticks already claimed for the time being. They try and stall this one out, but it's looking like 1-2-3 are definitely sitting with the advantage as it stands. They have a Transcendence available to them. Snillo with the Pulse Bomb sends it out, but it is going to get 8 up there by Manhattan's mech.
And now 1-2-3, they double down, right? They're going to use the Transcendence, and oh, it's not going to save you from Manhattan. The bomb over the top. Misfits able to solidify once more. And this has been a recurring trend now, Bren. In every round of play we've seen here so far, Manhattan has had some crazy ultimate play to save Misfits when otherwise they might have broken.
Yeah, very smart ult usage coming out by Manhattan. Whether that's his own call or his team's, it really just does show that Misfits are a step ahead when it comes to utilizing it. I mean, Manhattan easily turning up here as one of the best divas in the tournament. As you can see, they're saving that initial defense, but still only 1 tick is needed here for 1-2-3, and they're looking to rotate around now as they start to take the high ground here, pushing them off the edge, and with that they start to play the point, which forces Misfits' hand.
And Logix, again, into the backline while the dive was happening. Finds Bach early. 1-2-3 working with way less healing here early on. And now Finzy, he just has to no, he doesn't even. That's it. He ends up falling, and Logix just kneecaps 1-2-3 here, where 1-2-3, they're doing the right thing. They're trying to dive into the back, but it's either way, you choose your poison, right? Do you die the Tracer in the back or the 76 in the front?
That's the question. I mean, you're really struggling to split up because you have to be worried about both Tvik and Logix because they're both star players. But one thing you mentioned there, ZP, I mean, we almost got caught off guard. We thought Fincy was going to commit his self-destruct there with the mech. But again, smart ult usage coming out from both these teams. Fincy saving the self-destruct for this next team fight, and you've got potentially maybe 2 team fights left for 1-2-3 to really take this.
And here we see again, the dive is heading in, Logic's moving in from the back. He's a little bit out of position this time around though, so there's more room for 1-2-3, but the tank play is great. Haffical dies to the self-destruct again here. This buys Misfits time, but 4-4 right now. Snillo really breaking it open. Tvik is already down, and this is now getting pretty bad for Misfits as 1-2-3 might have just found their opening, courtesy of Snillo. But Logic's Bren, he's still a threat.
Logic's is still alive, and nobody can realistically take care of him. 1-2-3, the only thing they can hope for is to try and win this ground war while ignoring Logic's. Logic's sending out the pulse bomb, won't find any targets, but does force them back for the time being, and Misfits still holding on to this initial fight, this initial point. Zebasai getting the demake and the kill there to Fincy as well. We're going into the final few seconds here, ZP. It's do or die.
It is do or die. That's why the Transcendence is out. 4 members of 1-2-3 remaining, but Misfits in firm control. They're going to best attack visor because, hey, it's the end. He has targets in his sights. Tvik, easy cleanup towards the end. But for me, 2 big stories there. The protection for Tvik, where even though he's getting forced out of the fights, wasn't falling. The tanks kept him up. An incredibly key self-destruct from Manitin. And all the while, 1-2-3, their game plan was to deal with Tvik in the back, but Logic's continually terrorized them from the back, getting every kill that he needed when 1-2-3 would commit on the dive. So particularly Bach, I mean, he was just, Tracer was in on him every time.
Yeah, it's a real struggle because the positioning that 1-2-3 were playing during that initial round was very much split. So a lot of the time it was either going to be Denia or Bach falling. And these 2 supports are some of the best in the tournament we've seen. So that really is just a testament to the raw, skill and, I guess, teamwork of Misfits as a whole, as a team coming into this tournament. What I would have liked to have seen is baiting the team fight, so pretending to go on Tvik like they were doing. That was their game plan. But actually rotating back onto Logic's and trying to bring him down. Maybe even switching up the composition, As much as it pains me to say it, you could potentially run a Roadhog in this composition to try and catch him out with the hook. Even a McCree to try and really deal with him and hard shut him down. Really just hard counter Logic's and take him out of the equation.
Well, and to your point, they never tried that, right?
No.
Where the entire time was, we're just going to power through and we'll deal with Logic's later. Logic's plays so well in the Tracer that he does beg the idea that maybe we should deal with Logic's now. Maybe you try and deal with that, but that's a problem, right? Because Tracer can pick really good moments to engage. She's mobile if you try and hunt her down specifically, so it's very much on a line where maybe they would have had more success if they tried running a McCree or something to catch him off guard.
Yeah, that's the real sort of game plan now. And with the side switched, 1-2-3 have to get a defense now. 92% is what they managed to secure. That's it. They have to full hold Misfits here on point A of Numbani. This initial checkpoint if they want any chance of winning this series out right now. We'll see if they can do it, ZP, as they start to roll out.
The one upside here, if nothing else, for 1-2-3 is that it's not holding 1 tick, right? That's 92%.
Yes.
So it's basically just holding first in totality. A little bit less generous, but Logic's goes down immediately. A little bit of a different start here for 1-2-3 that was barely killing him at all last round.
Yeah, but there you go. There you have it. I mean, that was exactly what 1-2-3 needed. They know that Logic's is going to be going off by himself on his little adventures, just wandering around the map of Numbani, just exploring. And if they can exploit that and really take care of him, bring him out of the fight early, at the end of the day, he is playing Tracer. He can get back into the fight pretty quickly, but it is going to help them in the long term.
Well, they do have to look to the front right now as Misfits. They're going to go straight up, take the right side, take the high ground away from 1-2-3 here, and make this a little bit more chaotic. Tonic, under pressure, but getting healed up. Bach, that is his main priority right now, keeping Tonic up in this fight. Meanwhile, though, Misfits have already grabbed the tick. You can't give a tick up for free when this is what you have to defend here, Bren. And Misfits, they're dealing critical damage.
Oh, Tvik just does not care. He dives into the back. He secures it for his team. Denia will try and take this 1v1 against him. Tvik will come out on top of it again, and the point is being captured up here, ZP. Tvik celebrates with a little swish of his blade, but a very quick map coming out from this side. Misfits taking it in such a rapid succession.
Very strong stuff from Misfits. But for me is that this was just a masterclass on all levels, right?
Yeah.
You had the team coordination and disengaging, the protection of Tvik when they were on their defense, and then just the raw mechanical skill of Logic's where he could not be contained. He won the one-on-ones he needed to. He continually pressured players like Bach and really just didn't let him get comfortable at all.
Yeah.
And in the end, Misfits reigning supreme.
A crazy game all around because it really just shows that it was Misfits, just they're so dominant in this tournament and for good reason. The tank play, the DPS play, the supports, everything about it is just sublime.
All right, guys, we're going to be throwing to a break, but when we come back, the desk will be breaking down those first two maps.